Thank you very much. That was great. That was great. Before I introduce Bill McSwain, I just wanted to call your attention over there in the far left corner towards the front is the straw poll. If any of you have any thoughts on your favorite candidates for governor or United States senator or issue of the day, that is the place to check in and cast your ballot before you leave. So I did want to get that out. Our next speaker is Bill McSwain. He was appointed by President Trump to serve as the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania from April of 2018 until January of 2021, and he was responsible for all federal prosecutions in one of the largest federal districts in the country with nearly 6 million residents across Philadelphia and its 8 surrounding counties. He first learned to be a prosecutor as an assistant U.S. attorney, also in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. And I have a favorite story here. Every time I am asked, particularly by non-Pennsylvanians who are skeptical that there were any problems in a Pennsylvania election, how could that possibly be, they ask. I refer to, and I have written on occasion, of Bill McSwain prosecuting a guy named, I think his name was Dominic DeMuro, is that right? He was, only in Pennsylvania, he was a Democratic election judge in Philadelphia, and Bill got the guy indicted for, in 3 different elections, Mr. DeMuro would apparently stand when nobody was watching next to the voting machines, and when people weren't looking, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And then it turns out he was paid to do so. That indictment came, I think, in May of that particular year, of 2020. And then in July of 2020, Bill got the guy who paid the check, who paid the cash. And that would be a guy that Pennsylvanians might remember. His name was former Democratic Congressman Michael Ozzie Myers, who spent time in the federal slammer for the Abscam sting. And suddenly, once again, Ozzie's in the news and back in his old haunts. So we have Bill to thank for that. So without further ado, Bill McSwain.
Good morning. So I was President Trump's U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. And you might be wondering, you heard a little bit of an intro, you might be wondering, what does a U.S. Attorney actually do? Well, you're responsible for enforcing all of the federal laws in your district. And my district included Philadelphia. Now, if you want to enforce the law in Philadelphia, people sometimes look at you a little sideways. Right? Enforcing the law, the rule of law, that's not really something that goes over easy in Philadelphia all the time. But I did my job, and I had the audacity to put violent criminals in jail. I had the audacity to put corrupt public officials in jail. And I want to tell you about a little award I got for that. I got an award for doing that. I was given the award by the Philadelphia Inquirer editorial board. They voted me the #1 villain of 2020. For enforcing the law. So, you know, the criticism can get pretty intense sometimes if you want to enforce the law in Philadelphia, especially on social media. People can be pretty nasty on social media. So I had people coming after me because of what I was doing and telling me to eat things that should never be eaten. Other people were telling me to stick things in parts of my body where those things should never be stuck. But I didn't care, because I had a job to do. I had a job that President Trump gave me to do, and I was going to do it. And I thought of my job as this. My job as U.S. Attorney was to stand up for the good people in the community, the law-abiding people in the community, the people who wanted to make our community better. Those people deserve a voice too. And an important point about the good people is this. Good people come in all races, all ethnicities, all backgrounds, all religious faiths, all sexual orientations, all types of people. What matters is, do they follow the law? Do they respect our institutions? And do they want to make our community better? Those people need a voice. And I want to give you a little example. I'll call it a morality play of something that I was involved in as U.S. Attorney. It's a morality play from last summer, when we saw the summer of civil unrest in Philadelphia, and we saw the rioting and the looting and the arson and the various activities. So let me introduce the characters to you. And when we introduce the characters, feel free to register your approval or disapproval, whatever you like. But here's the first character in the morality play. See the first slide, please. Larry Krasner. Larry Krasner is the DA of Philadelphia. And here he is kneeling with his people. He's cheering these people on during the summer of civil unrest. And he is an individual who has presided over one of the worst increases in violent crime and shootings and homicides in Philadelphia history. And he seems to be quite proud of that, oddly. Here's the next character in the morality play, Josh Shapiro. Now, he's nearly as bad as Krasner. He never stands up to Krasner, never holds him accountable, never pushes back on him, because he's terrified of the radical left. And he's a tool of the radical left. And here's the third character in the morality play, Governor Wolf, with his poster. In the height of the pandemic, when you couldn't go to work, when you couldn't send your children to school because the schools were closed, when your small business was destroyed, when you couldn't even have a funeral for a loved one, he was out there marching shoulder to shoulder with these folks, which is hypocrisy at its worst. And then the final character in the play, that guy. I would not want to mess around with that guy. Because that guy, he don't play, that guy right there. So let's set the scene of the morality play. Next slide, please. There we have it. That was what was going on in Philadelphia last summer. The police car upside down, torched, a crowd around it, celebrating. Next slide, please. And then we have get a little close-up here. We've got F the police on the car, torched by an individual standing next to it. Seems proud of his handiwork. Let's go to the next slide. That is that individual. His name is Anthony Smith, Ant Smith. He was the individual in the previous slide, and there he is for a cover shoot in Philadelphia Magazine. Right, you know why Ant Smith was in Philadelphia Magazine? Because he was being honored as one of the most influential Philadelphians. Right, so he's not a fringe character. This is somebody who's a leader. This is somebody who Philadelphia, or the media in Philadelphia, is lauding. And look at the button. See that button there? What's that button say? Free 'em all. What does that mean? That means he's a prison abolitionist. He doesn't think there should be any prisons. If you're not going to have any prisons, why would you need any police? So let's just free them all. Free all the murderers. Free all the rapists. Free all the armed robbers. Free all the child molesters. That's what he believes. And he is being lauded by Philadelphia Magazine as one of the top 10 influential Philadelphians. Next slide, please. So here's a picture of an individual throwing a Molotov cocktail into a police car. It's about to be engulfed in flames. And this is Laura Elizabeth Blumenthal, who is doing this, a graduate of Penn Charter High School, one of the most exclusive private schools in Philadelphia, one of the most expensive private schools in Philadelphia. That 30-something white woke woman is about to torch a police car right in front of City Hall. That's City Hall, right behind the police car. And does she look worried about what's going to happen to her? Does she look worried about what she's doing? It's right there in broad daylight, right there in the most prominent place in the whole city. So my question for you is, what do law-abiding citizens think when they see that? What do good people in the community think when they see that? And I'll tell you exactly what they think, which is probably the same thing that you're thinking right now. They think that is BS. There's no other way to describe it. That is BS, and they want to know, what are their leaders going to do about it? What's Larry Krasner going to do about it? Nothing. What's Josh Shapiro going to do about it? Nothing. What's Governor Wolf going to do about it? Nothing. Well, I did something about that. I put her in jail. She's in the federal detention center right now awaiting trial, and after she's convicted, she will face a mandatory minimum 7 years in federal prison. Same thing with Ant Smith. I charged him with torching that police car and endangering everybody around him. And he is also facing a 7-year mandatory minimum penalty. And anybody else that I could identify who torched a police car or blown up an ATM or started a riot or burned a building, they are all in jail. And I'm happy to tell you that it worked. Enforcing the law works. Deterrence works. Because after those 2 days at the end of May and the beginning of June, and we started charging these people, the word got out. If you torch a police car, if you start a riot, if you're an arsonist, if you do any of the things that folks like that are doing, McSwain was coming for you. And we didn't have any more riots. We didn't have any more burning police cars. We didn't have any more arson for the rest of the summer. The rest of the summer, we weren't like a lot of other cities around the country. Philadelphia had protests for the rest of the summer, but they did not have violence. We did not have that kind of BS. So it worked. And why did I do it? I did it because I had a responsibility as U.S. Attorney to stand up for the law and to know the difference between right and wrong and to do what I had to do regardless of personal consequence and to do it because I had a responsibility to protect the community. And you know, we're going to have to elect a Republican governor in 2022, right? And I think what we need is we need a governor who knows right from wrong. We need a governor who acts on principle. We need a governor who does the right thing. We need a governor who cares about what's right for Pennsylvania and doesn't care about criticism. And we need a governor who cannot be intimidated by anybody or anything. That person is out there somewhere. Somewhere. I hope we find him or her. God bless you, God bless our Commonwealth, and God bless America. Thank you.